They won't say it out loud, but they feel it. When you walk in, the air changes, conversations falter, smiles flicker, and suddenly the room doesn't belong to everyone, it belongs to you. This is not ego. This is energy, Leo energy. And whether they love you or fear you, they can't ignore you. But here's the truth no one dares to admit. Most people don't fear the lion because of what you do. They fear the lion because of what you awaken. You awaken their silence, their shame, the parts of them they buried long ago, ambition, voice, fire, pride, in your light. They remember who they could be, and it terrifies them. That's why this message found you today. This isn't random, it's not a horoscope. It's a prophecy. And if you're still watching, you were meant to receive it. Because where the lion walks, shadows follow. And no one talks about what it means to carry the sun in your spirit and still be misunderstood. No one explains the loneliness that comes with visibility, the punishment that comes with power. This isn't a takedown, this is an initiation. You've heard the praise, bold, radiant, born leader. But no one told you the cost of being chosen, the envy, the silence and the applause, the way people shrink in your presence, and then blame you for making them feel small. But what if I told you none of that is your fault? What if I told you the fear people feel around Leo is a cosmic signal, not a curse? Because in astrology, Leo is not just a personality, it's a portal. A soul contract with light itself. You weren't born to blend in, you were born to burn away illusions. And now the prophecy is unfolding, the age is shifting. And those who carry the lion's fire are being activated, but most people will miss it. Most people will keep dimming themselves or fighting the wrong battle. Only a few will remember the truth. And in this video, I'll take you deeper into the myth, the shadow, the legacy you were never taught to own. So if you feel something rising in your chest right now, don't look away. The lion within you is not a problem. It's the sign you've been waiting for. And it begins here. Before the world named you Leo, the stars already had. Long before horoscopes, before personality quizzes and memes, there were whispers in temples and fires lit in your name. Because the lion, your symbol, is not just an animal. It is an ancient archetype, a prophecy, a sacred assignment coded into your soul's blueprint. In Egyptian mythology, Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of fire and war, was not born to be gentle. She was forged in the sun's wrath to restore cosmic balance. Her rage wasn't destruction, it was medicine, cleansing, divine correction. She wasn't meant to be liked, she was meant to be remembered. In Greek legend, the Nemean lion was so powerful, its golden fur was impenetrable. Even Hercules struggled to defeat it, not because the lion was evil, but because it was invincible. It took cunning and courage to even get close. Sound familiar? Across ancient civilizations, Mesopotamia, Persia, India, Africa, the sun was worshipped as the living eye of God, and those born under its rulership were destined to carry that radiance. But with great light comes a sacred test. This is not a coincidence. This is karma. You didn't just choose to be born a Leo. Your soul accepted a solar contract. And that contract is this: to radiate so brightly that others remember they are divine. But here's the paradox no one speaks about. When a Leo shines, they trigger everyone else's shadow. The insecure will feel exposed. The lost will feel inferior. The small-hearted will try to dim what they can't duplicate. It's not your fault, it's your frequency. This is the loop of the lion. First, you're celebrated. Then, you're resisted, adored. Then doubted, worshipped, then rejected. This is your crucible. This is your prophecy test. Until one day, you stop trying to convince the world you deserve the crown, and you simply wear it. Quietly, powerfully. Not to dominate, but to guide. Because Leo energy is not about ego, it's about royal stewardship. In ancient rites of kingship and queenship, leaders were anointed not just with power but responsibility. They weren't chosen to be praised. They were chosen to protect, to bless, to walk among the people, not above them. And in the new spiritual age, Leos are not just performers or influencers. They are solar codes in human form. Reminders that every soul is meant to shine, but someone has to go first. Someone has to be brave enough to stand in the light while others throw their shadows. And that someone is you. The brighter the sun, the longer the shadow it casts. But the more people it warms. So if you've ever wondered why people love you and resent you, why they follow you but secretly compete, why you inspire and intimidate, it's because your light is not ordinary. It's solar, it's ancient, it's part of a prophecy older than memory. And now that prophecy is activating again. But first, you must understand how the shadow forms, because only by seeing it can you rise above it. They say they have intimidated, that you are too much, that you are trying to steal the spotlight. But what they really mean is, you showed up when they didn't. You dared to be seen while they stayed small. You walked into a room fully present, fully alive. And suddenly, they had to confront all the places in themselves that were not. This is the psychology of fear, not of danger, but of radiance. When someone exudes charisma, it doesn't just attract attention, it redistributes power. Your confidence shifts the balance. Your voice carries authority that wasn't assigned by title, but by energy. And to those who haven't claimed their own, that feels like theft, like rebellion, like threat. But it's not about you. It's about them. You see, most people carry unhealed wounds around visibility. Childhood moments of being silenced, mocked, overlooked. And when you walk in, unapologetically visible, you awaken what they have buried. The numbness they mistook for peace. The quiet they disguised as humility. The invisibility they were taught was safety. And suddenly, they project. They don't see you, they see the shadow of what they're not. So they label you arrogant, attention-seeking, full of yourself. Not because it's true, but because their unlived boldness needs a villain. This is projection in its rawest form. And Leos receive it more than any other sign. Not because they have done something wrong, but because they have done something rare. They have dared to take up space. You were never trying to dominate. You were just refusing to shrink. But let's go deeper, because the contrast runs even sharper. Your courage makes them question their comfort. Your warmth exposes their numbness. Your leadership challenges their obedience. Your joy forces them to face their own repression. It is not you they fear. It is what awakens in them when you are near. And if no one ever explained this to you, it's easy to take it personally. Easy to wonder, did I go too far? Should I tone it down? Why do I feel punished for simply being myself? But here is your freedom. It was never about toning down, it was about mastering your presence. Because there's a difference between humility and hiding, between confidence and ego. You don't have to apologize for your impact, but you do have to understand it. This is the path of mastery. And here's the deeper truth that few speak about. Even the strongest lions wear masks, not to deceive, but to survive. Over time, after so much projection, many Leos begin to hide their heart behind humor, their grief behind grandeur, their sensitivity behind showmanship. You learn to perform not just for applause, but for protection, because being misread hurts. Being loved conditionally hurts more. Being admired but not truly seen is the deepest cut of all. And yet, this wound is the doorway to your next evolution. Because true Leo power isn't in performance, it's in presence. It's not about being liked, it's about being aligned. And when you learn to stand in your light without the mask, something miraculous happens. The world stops projecting and starts remembering. They remember themselves through you. But first, you must remember who you were before the mask. And that's where we go next. Every king has a crown, but not every crown is light. And for the Leo soul, the heaviest crown is often the one made of gold smiles, grand entrances, and unshakable presence. This is the paradox of the performer. When love feels earned instead of given, when approval only arrives after the applause, the lion learns to survive not by shrinking, but by shining even harder. You become unforgettable, impressive, generous beyond reason. Because deep down, a part of you believes, if I'm bright enough, maybe they won't leave. If I'm flawless, maybe I'll finally feel safe. So you create a persona, not out of manipulation, but out of necessity. A version of yourself that's always on, always dazzling, always composed. A mask made of excellence. But what happens when the mask starts to fit too well? Here lies the shadow, the addiction to applause, the fear of being ordinary, the anxious need to be adored not for ego's sake, but because deep down you've tied attention to worth. And yet, attention is not the same as appreciation. Praise is not the same as presence. Admiration is not the same as intimacy. But in the roar of the crowd, it all starts to blur. That's when the mask tightens, the laughter gets louder, the generosity becomes performance. You give and give and give until your joy becomes currency, and your energy becomes a show. All while inside, your heart whispers, will anyone ever love me in silence? Will they still see me when I'm not dazzling? Because here's the secret buried beneath the golden armor. Leos don't want the spotlight, they want to be seen. Not just in glory, but in grief. Not just in triumph, but in tiredness. Not just in majesty, but in messiness. At the core of every lion is a tender soul who longs for stillness, for someone to sit beside them when the stage is empty, for a love that isn't earned with performance, but offered in truth. But when that need feels too risky to reveal, the mask takes over, the performance continues. And slowly, the lion forgets they were ever anything else. Until the pressure cracks the crown, the castle grows heavy, and shadow behaviors emerge not because you are broken, but because you've been carrying the kingdom alone. That's the tipping point, when strength becomes suppression, when pride becomes protection, when the roar becomes a cry for help that no one hears, because you've taught them you re-invincible. But the truth is, even lions need to rest. Even royalty needs reassurance. Even the sun, at times, must set. And in that softness, a deeper power begins to rise. Because when you shed the mask, when you let someone see the real you beneath the performance, you're not losing control. You're reclaiming it. And next, we'll explore what happens when that mask falls, when the lion dares to meet their own shadow. Not to defeat it, but to understand it. When the lion forgets its heart, the crown becomes a cage. This is the unintegrated Leo, the version of the lion the world learns to fear. The one who commands every room, not out of presence, but out of panic. Who punishes silence with grand exits and dramatic goodbyes. Who hoards the mic, interrupts, overshares, not because they don't care, but because they desperately need to matter. And if the world won't give them the spotlight, they'll take it. But underneath this display is not arrogance, it's injury. Because somewhere in the lion's early story, love became inconsistent. Praise arrived only after achievement. Attention was weaponized. And in that confusion, the Leo learned to self-generate validation by force. If no one offered the sun, they would become it, even if it burned. So the king becomes a tyrant. Not because he is cruel, but because he was never taught he was safe without control. The queen becomes demanding, not because she lacks grace, but because she was praised only when she was perfect. What looks like dominance is actually a shield. What feels like entitlement is often exhaustion. And what appears as ego is really a cry for stability in a world that once made them feel disposable. Let's name the shadows clearly. The need to rule, the hunger to be obeyed, the meltdown when overlooked, the stinginess with praise unless it's returned, the inability to let others lead without feeling invisible, the obsession with loyalty even when it's not earned. But these are not flaws. They are unmet needs masquerading as power. The unintegrated Leo confuses adoration with security. They chase applause because somewhere a younger self was ignored. They perform leadership, but haven't yet touched the calm that comes from true internal authority. So instead of leading with light, they lead with heat. Instead of devotion, they demand. Instead of inspiration, they insist. This is the line between royalty and rulership, between sovereignty and superiority. Because the true lion doesn't need to roar to be heard. They don't need to dominate to be respected. Their power isn't in control, it's in coherence. Their presence makes others feel stronger, not smaller. And the beautiful truth? These shadow behaviors are not fixed, they're feedback. Sacred clues pointing to the wound underneath. The forgotten moment when the lion decided, if I'm not shining, I'm not safe. But once that wound is named, something softens. Something sacred returns. The fire doesn't disappear, it deepens. And the lion no longer needs to take space, because they become space. A sun others orbit by choice, not by force. This is not about shame. This is about shadow work. About reclaiming the pieces of you that acted out only because they were never seen, never soothed, never spiritually parented. And once you see it, truly see it, you unlock a deeper throne. Because when Leo integrates the shadow, leadership becomes legacy. And that journey begins with the mirror. And now, let's step into that mirror to meet the part of you that has been hiding behind the crown. Every lion has a crown, but few remember where they first learned to wear it. For many Leo souls, the earliest memories of love are tangled with performance. A school play, a report card, a perfectly timed joke that made the room laugh. That's when the warmth came. That's when the eyes lit up. That's when you felt chosen. But what about the quiet moments? What about the days you weren't dazzling? Did the love remain, or did it grow cold? This is the wound beneath the crown. So many Leos carry invisible scripts. If I'm not impressive, I'll be ignored. If I don't shine, I'll be forgotten. If I'm not special, I don't belong. And so the performance begins not for joy, but for safety. You become the overachiever, the entertainer, the rescuer. You carry the room, the family, the weight. Not because you're confident, but because somewhere along the way, you were trained to equate visibility with love. This isn't vanity, it's survival. And yet, over time, it becomes a trap. The bigger you become, the more alone you feel. The more you shine, the more others rely on your light, and the less they ask how you're really doing. You start to armor yourself, a laugh that hides hurt, a story that distracts from silence, a pride that deflects tenderness. You become the sun no one dares get too close to. Because even you have forgotten how to be soft. But what if we paused? What if, just for a moment, you asked, where did I learn that being big meant being alone? When did I decide that love had to be earned? What version of me was never held unless I was glowing? This isn't about blame, it's about reclaiming. Because once you name the wound, you no longer have to live from it. Once you recognize that your power was built to protect a tender heart, you can begin to rewrite the story. The lion doesn't have to roar to be worthy. You don't have to shine for attention. You can shine for life itself, for purpose, for presence, for joy. When the wound is witnessed, the sun no longer performs it, radiates gently, consistently, authentically. And that's the beginning of true transformation. Because real light doesn't chase approval. It offers warmth. It invites truth. It becomes a steady flame others gather around, not because it demands it, but because it simply is. And now that you've begun to see your own origin story with compassion, we can begin the sacred work of transmutation. Next, we'll explore what happens when Leo no longer leads from performance, but from peace. When the roar becomes resonance, when your light stops seeking permission and simply belongs. Real royalty doesn't need to be seen to know it shines. This is solar alchemy, the sacred transformation from validation seeking to value giving, from dazzling to heal a wound, to radiating because you've remembered who you are. It begins with humility, not as submission, but as royal discipline. The kind that says, I know my worth so deeply, I don't need to prove it. I don't need to dominate the room. I don't need to be the only one glowing. Because true Leo radiance doesn't eclipse others. It creates more suns. Leadership becomes a spiritual practice. You begin to share the spotlight, not as a sacrifice, but as a blessing. You ask before advising. You pause before performing. You learn to see every interaction as a sacred stage, not to win applause, but to elevate the room. This is where service becomes sacred theater, where your presence becomes a hearth, not a bonfire. I am a hearth, not a bonfire, a source of warmth, a space for stories, a gathering place that lights others without burning them. You begin to design rituals, not just for yourself, but for your pride. The ones you lead, love, and protect. Rituals of appreciation, celebration, rest. You learn that true power isn't in how loudly you roar, but in how deeply you listen. This is the Leo who leads with grace, who walks into a room and instantly makes others feel brighter, not smaller. The one who knows, I don't need the whole sky. I only need to light my corner of it, and invite others to do the same. To anchor this alchemy, try this. Each morning, before the world asks for your energy, light a candle. Place your hand over your heart and speak aloud. I do not shine to be chosen. I shine because I remember. My light is not a performance, it is a presence. May my fire warm, not scorch. May I be a hearth for others to gather. Feel the shift in your body, the release, the arrival. This is your true crown, not forged from applause, but from alignment. And now, you are ready to meet others not from stage or throne, but from soul. Because when Leo leads from peace, they don't just radiate. They transform the world around them. At some point, the lion must return to stillness, not to rest, but to remember. This is the Golden Heart Ritual, a sacred rite designed to help you integrate your shadow, not by rejecting it, but by meeting it with reverence. Here, your power is not performed. It is embodied, quiet, ancient, true. Set the stage with intention. Choose either sunrise or golden hour, the moments when the sun is softest yet still sovereign. Light a single candle. Place a mirror in front of you, and beside it, a bowl of water. If you can, let that water be sun-charged, left in the light for a few hours to hold solar memory. Begin with the body. Take a seat. Root your spine. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your solar plexus. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply and exhale with a roar through an open mouth. Do this 3 times. This is lion's breath, releasing heat, pride, and pressure. Feel your chest rise with authority, not anxiety. Feel your belly center your power, not in domination, but in dignity. Now speak, softly, steadily. These are your affirmations. Say them aloud to the mirror, to your cells, to the ancient memory waking within you. My light warms, it does not scorch. My crown serves, it does not seize. My presence blesses, it does not boast. I am seen without performing. I am chosen without chasing. I lead because I listen. Let the words echo, not just in the air, but in your nervous system. Now for the symbolic release. Take a piece of paper. Write down one controlling habit or shadow pattern you've used to feel safe. Maybe it's interrupting, overgiving, or needing to be praised. No judgment, just truth. Fold the paper. Hold it gently in both palms. Whisper, I release the throne of fear. I do not need to rule to be radiant. I do not need to perform to be precious. Submerge the paper in the water. Watch it soften, blur, dissolve. This is what happens when ego surrenders to essence. Close with journaling. Take a few quiet moments to write. Where can I trade performance for presence this week? Where can I lead without controlling? What would it feel like to be loved in stillness, not spectacle? Let these questions open your heart, not shame it. Because now that you've reclaimed the golden heart, the world is ready to meet the new lion, and in the next chapter, we'll explore exactly how your relationships transform when leadership becomes love, and intimacy is no longer a battlefield, but a kingdom shared. To love a lion is to stand in sunlight, beautiful, bold, and sometimes blinding. Whether you are a Leo or love one, you know this truth. Their presence is unmistakable. They light up rooms, carry burdens with style, and inspire everyone to stand taller. But without care, that brilliance can become burnout for both the lion and those around them. So how do we love the lion well? If you're walking beside a Leo friend, partner, colleague, know this. Their confidence is real, but so is their need for reassurance. Not flattery, not bribery, nourishment. Say, I saw how you led that conversation. I felt safe. Say, you don't have to impress me. I already love you. Praise, when specific, anchors the lion in trust. Vague compliments evaporate. But real appreciation lands like water on fire. And set boundaries too, kindly, clearly. I want to hear your story, but can I share mine first? I love your leadership. Can we co-create the plan this time? Use rituals to rotate the spotlight. Weekly gratitude circles where everyone is named. Shared decision-making moments. Teach the lion that giving others the mic doesn't dim their light, it multiplies it. And if you are the lion, here's your soul work. Choose transparency over tests. Don't wait for others to prove their love through guessing games. Ask. Say, I'm feeling unseen today. Can you remind me I matter? Say, I'm scared my voice is too loud. Do you still feel heard? Emotional honesty is the lion's true crown. And when drama tempts you, pause. Not to silence the feeling, but to redirect it into dialogue. Try, something in me feels forgotten. Can we talk before I spiral? This is strength. This is leadership. This is the roar of wisdom. Because loving a Leo or being one requires shared courage. It's not about managing ego. It's about creating space for the lion to be both powerful and held. And when that balance is honored, something sacred awakens. Leo's aura no longer evokes fear, it becomes a sanctuary of courage, a place where others remember their own bravery, a warmth that invites, not overwhelms, a presence that leads not because it must, but because it knows how to follow love. Now, with your heart open, your shadow seen, and your pride beside you, it's time to step into the final ascent. Because the world doesn't need another ruler. It needs a radiant flame that teaches us all how to shine without shame. And that, beloved lion, is where we go next. They feared the lion until the lion remembered. The world has long misunderstood your fire, Leo. They called it ego when it was longing. They called it dominance when it was devotion. But now something ancient awakens in you, not performance, not pride, but prophecy. And this is your coronation, not the crowning of a ruler to be worshipped, but of a guardian of light. I carry a crown that opens hearts, not wounds. I do not steal the stage, I build it. I lead lightfully, not fearfully. My flame is not for conquest, it is for communion. This is the moment where your shadow meets your sovereignty, where applause fades and something deeper rises, radiance that needs no stage. Because your true identity, dear Leo, was never just king or queen. It is Son, the eternal giver. So comment your vow. Speak it into this sacred circle of witnesses. I choose warmth over worry. I choose courage over control. I no longer perform, I shine. Tag a fellow Leo who has walked this path beside you, or someone who's helped you see beyond the mask. Let them witness your rebirth. And if you've made it this far in the video, this isn't random. This is initiation. Because prophecy doesn't predict, it remembers. And you, beloved lion, are here to remember who you've always been. You are not the flame that consumes. You are the hearth that gathers. You are not crowned because you conquered. You are crowned because you chose compassion. This is the legacy of the integrated Leo, not just admired, but trusted. Not just seen, but felt. The one who protects the light in others as fiercely as their own. So here is your final charge. Shine so others find their fire. Let your light be a map, not a mirror. Let your voice be a home, not a performance. Let your love be the gold no wound can tarnish. This is not the end. This is the first flame of something deeper. Next, we descend into Virgo's sacred temple. Then into Scorpio's shadow depths. Each sign, each soul, called back into wholeness. But tonight belongs to you, Leo. May your crown be light. May your throne be love. May your roar awaken remembrance. You are the prophecy fulfilled. I received my crown. My light warms, not scorches. I lead lightfully.